What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Thursday, another episode of Simply Sessions, and a very merry belated Christmas to you all. Hope you stacked a bunch of sats, and well, probably you mostly spend sats on other people, but nonetheless, very merry holiday to all of you. Hope you're having a good one, a good Boxing Day. I did not set foot outside of the house today, so I'm trying to relax. But nonetheless, there is news afoot in the world of Bitcoin. And of course, we've got the best person on the internet to bring you Bitcoin news. The great Nico of Simply Bitcoin is in the house to let us know what's been going on. And of course, we're going to be hitting you with the tech updates and all of that in the latter half of the show. If you haven't already, actually, first I'll say, of course, this is live. Just as the Christmas special was recently, make sure you check that out. It's on the channel, and it was a doozy. But this is live. Anything can happen. I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
If you haven't already, please do like, sub, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyes. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session and Simply Session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we take a look and bring in Nico, let's take a look at timechaincalendar.com, see where we are in the market right now. We are currently sitting at $95,747 per coin, although we did have a Christmas Day pump up in the 99K range the other day. Perfect BART up sideways and then straight back down the next day. So that was fun to watch. A single US dollar will grab you 1,044 sats. In terms of fees, looks like six sats per VByte across the board and next block. And then in terms of Bitcoin mine, 19.8 million. That is 94.29% of the total supply. We'll give a quick shout out to our sponsor. We'll be right back with Nico to give you the news. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to CoinKite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. We're back in, and let's bring out my brother from another mother. Yo, buddy. Merry Christmas.
Yo, Merry Christmas. And you're way too kind in the beginning, and that was very touching. I felt butterflies inside. I appreciate that. That
we
epic
get
intro.
Butterflies sometimes.
Yeah, man. It just, sometimes just we just touch the tips. I don't know what happens. It just,
I don't know. It's inevitable. But how was your Christmas?
It was good. We had the whole pajama thing.
Nice.
So, we had, I spent it with my in-laws, and they're awesome. And we had, my cousin came over and their family came over, and it was Emma's first Christmas, my daughter. Yeah, it was adorable. I dressed up in a Santa costume. And how was your Christmas, bro? I did the whole thing. I'm like, wow, I'm a parent. This is fun. Now I understand it. I understand this element of life.
Yeah, yeah. It's as your kids get older and start wanting things for Christmas and requesting things of Santa, it becomes although like with parents, it doesn't matter the age of the kids. With grandparents, we basically it's like a toy store exploded in our living room right now. It's kind of wild. I'm stepping on so many things, and the amount of like recycling in boxes and crap out my backyard is pretty wild right now. So we'll see what happens.
Dude, but oh man, it's awesome though.
Yeah.
It's really awesome, and you know, you've been experiencing it for a while. This is my first. This is like first year parent, dude. So
Yeah,
I might be. I think I've already called you at least one or twice at 2 a.m. Like, Ben, what do I do?
Well, you stayed here too, and luckily my wife is a postpartum nurse, and so any inquiries, there was at least a hand in the house while you were out of the country.
Your wife, like literally, like within, I couldn't get my baby to go to sleep. Your wife picks her up, and like within 20 seconds, she's sleeping like a baby. Literally,
Yeah.
no pun intended.
That's great. I love it. Sweet. So what's been going on, man?
Yeah, I mean, tons of news. I mean, it is Bitcoin. There's always news. I've said this for a very long time now. You know, I've been doing this for like almost 5 years now, and I always get this feeling in the beginning of the week. I'm like, I'm gonna have nothing to talk about, but that so far has not let me down. So tons of Bitcoin news, but I really do want to focus on this, and like the central thesis behind it is, I think that we just got out of the. You know, and again, you guys all know that I love talking about the sovereign individual. We talk a lot about it on Simply Sessions, and like the world just overcame the separation of information and state. And you'll say, but Nika, what are you talking about? You know, the state doesn't have a propaganda arm. You know, like, but you know, it's the New York Times, it's the Wall Street Journal, all these things. Like, what are you talking about? You're smoking crack, They do though. It's the legacy media. If you get your news on X or Nostr or YouTube, like you do your own research and you think critically, you live in a very different world compared to people that get their information off of the legacy media. And what I've come to realize, like over the last 10 years or so, is I think the legacy media has always been used as a source of population control, narrative control. And I think the internet disintermediated it by the rise of mass scale peer-to-peer communications. Like what me and Ben are doing right now is a great example of that. 10 years ago, that was like not possible, I don't think, especially to build enough of a platform and to get enough of a reach. So now it is, right? So now millions of voices around the world have the ability to communicate directly with each other. And, you know, you have the rise of Joe Rogan and all that stuff. Okay, it's a huge, you know, context provider. Now I'm weaving it back in. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because we just left that phase and we won, but it was super bumpy, bro. Think about all the platform censorship. Think they deplatformed a president, bro. Like that's gnarly, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
You know, the censorship in Canada, like you pull up certain things, Instagram's like, we can't show you this, right? Now we're entering into what I believe is the final boss, which is the separation of money and state. Now, the difference between the separation of information and state and money and state is that is their source of power. That is their source of funding. So look at how nasty that fight was with Twitter and all the censorship. Like it was really, really nasty. And it got dark at some points. Could you imagine the money one? The money one's going to get a little bit crazy. So I suspect that's what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. That's the next battle to come. And we're starting to see the first innings of that. And a great example of that, of course, is you know, the recent laws that are coming out of the European Union. But before I get into that, this article came out literally Christmas Eve. Bank of Italy calls Bitcoin peer-to-peer crime as a service in latest report. Goes on to say a recent Bank of Italy publication classifies Bitcoin peer-to-peer as crime as a service, criticizing its anonymous feature. Like essentially what they're trying to, where I think this is heading is I think they just want to outlaw self-custody altogether. They realize they can't make Bitcoin go away. But just like the disintermediation of information in state, the disintermediation of money in state relies on the ability of the state to co-opt the gatekeepers. In the case of the information aspect, it was the legacy media, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fox News, CNBC. In the case of money, it's the banks. I love the phrase that a bank account is essentially a 2 of 3 multi-sig, where the state has a key, the bank has a key, and you have one key. And if you're a Bitcoiner, you understand that that's not a good multi-sig setup for your wealth, right? So anyways, a lot of context provided, because this is why you guys should care about this, because if not, it's just really boring. But anyways, so the headline article for the audio listeners is Impact of the EU and Financial Action Task Force Regulatory Frameworks on Non-Custodial Crypto Asset Wallets. Now, it's a really long report, but I went through all of it, so you guys won't have to. And essentially, here are the key findings. So the report was essentially the report was essentially an overview, an analysis of EU regulatory frameworks for non-custodial wallets and peer-to-peer cryptocurrency transactions based on the FATF. The FATF is an unelected regulatory body whose full name is the Financial Action Task Force. It goes on to say the report focuses on implications for anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism finance compliance, highlights potential conflicts between regulations and financial privacy rights. Now, what they don't want to tell you is that the vast majority of illicit finance is actually done within the traditional financial system. But, you know, the narrative and the way that they phrase it is incredibly important here, because you would never, like, based on the language that they're using, you would never surmise that. You would say, no, that's impossible. What are you talking about? You know, you're a crazy man. But if you look at the facts, if you look at the data, it's telling you a very, very different story. Like, it's basically saying that the vast majority of illicit finance is actually done through the traditional financial system. It's not done through Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Now, here are some of the key findings from the report. Non-custodial wallets currently outside direct EU, AML, and CFTC regulations. It says are currently outside direct EU and AML regulations. It goes on to say EBA guidelines emphasize elevated risks associated with non-custodial wallets and recommend enhanced customer due diligence. Now, the reason I think is a little bit troubling is, like, okay, like, what do you expect? Like, someone is going to have an Electrum wallet or a Sparrow wallet in Nigeria. Like, are you going to stop them from transact? Like, this is where it's heading. Now, it goes on to say it's talking about the forthcoming regulations, including the MiCA, which is something that Christine Lagarde actually dropped by name when she called Bitcoin an escape valve, to use her words, not mine. And essentially, the MiCA regulations excludes non-custodial wallets from direct scope. However, it does impact crypto asset service providers by encouraging stricter practices. Now, it gets a little bit worse. Regulation EU 2023-1113 mandates that crypto asset service providers collect data from transactions involving non-custodial wallets. What does that mean? How do they plan to do that? Right? So, like, essentially, every time you withdraw money from the exchange, right, they want that reported to the government. Now, here's the kicker. Prohibit anonymous transactions. How? If you take Bitcoin off of an exchange, right? I'm a content creator. Sometimes I have to hire contractors overseas to do some of the editing work. Sometimes they live in a country where they don't have access to a bank account. I could pay them in Bitcoin, right? Like, how are they going to know that transaction happened? Like, are they supposed to, is the next step basically saying that every transaction has to be reported? It's pretty crazy. Now it goes on to say, and I'll read you too, Ben, like the recent rulings coming out of the United States, and it's pretty crazy. Like the taxing, the tax requirement stuff. So goes on to say, my summary introduces stricter requirements for crypto asset service providers, including transaction monitoring and reporting. Requires member states to establish financial intelligence units. Open source technologies like Lightning Network will conflict with the regulatory environment requirements. I mean, who saw that coming, right? Potential marginalization of EU-based crypto asset service providers and innovation due to restrictive policies. No shit, Sherlock. Risk of users shifting to unregulated markets outside the EU. Extensive customer data collection requirements, risk violating financial privacy rights. Lack of harmonized safeguards and reliance on member states may lead to misuse of data. No shit. Again, like these regulations are such a clusterfuck. And by the way, it's not an isolated incident. This is happening also in the United States. This is also coming in 2025. I believe, though, that this came actually from the Biden administration. There's a possibility that Trump will repeal this. So it goes on to say, this is an X post from Andrew Gordon. It says crypto investors must comply with the IRS procedure 2024 to 2028 Safe Harbor by December 31st, 2024 to avoid penalties and optimize your cost basis for digital assets. Let's break it down so you don't miss this critical deadline. So it goes on to say how to comply with the Safe Harbor by the end of the year. Understand the guidelines. The Safe Harbor lets you allocate unused cost basis to specific wallets using prescribed methods like global allocation or specific unit allocation. Number 2, this is the crazy part. List all wallets and accounts. List every wallet, hosted/unhosted, exchange and account holding your crypto. Keep this list for your Safe Harbor statement. Check this out. Take screenshots of your balances. Capture screenshots of token balances for every wallet and exchange after completing all 2024 transactions, but before January 1st, 2025. Timestamp these transactions. Like, bro, mind you, this is coming from a government, and I actually tweeted this out, it was like yesterday or something, that has failed 7 audits in a row, the Pentagon, and they have 60% of their like $8 trillion budget unaccounted for. And that's not billion, that's a T. But then they expect you to check all the lists. And year after year, whether it's Canada, the United States, or countries in Europe, what happens is that governments continue to spend more money than they collect in tax revenue. And the reason that they're able to do that is because they're able to print the difference. So they expect their citizens to comply and be fiscally disciplined, but they themselves don't follow what they expect everyone else to follow. And if that is not the definition of tyranny, I don't know what is. So I'm going to weave it back in once more with all the context and all this stuff. This is the first innings of the battle to come, and Bitcoiners are going to be right in the middle of this, which is going to be quite interesting. Anyways, that's my take.
That's, oh man. Okay, can you scroll down a little bit to the second point, the identify all wallets and accounts. So this is the thing where it's like, we know, like anybody who at all studied history and understands the significance in Bitcoin when juxtaposed against what happened historically to those using assets to escape inflation. This is just teeing you up for Executive Order 6102 for Bitcoin, right? Like, let us know about every sat you own anywhere. Can you imagine them saying this of anything else that you happen to own? Like if you own, like just if you had to go through your home and catalog every piece of everything that you owned and report it to the government, like no matter what it was, no matter how small, we need to know every single asset that you own anywhere on Earth, and so that we can later, basically take it from you. We want it. We're gonna want a piece, right? Like that's what they're teeing this up for. And you're right in that obviously this must be, it would have come out of the administration of the past 4 years. I hope that the fact that in this past election we've seen that Bitcoiners actually have sway in politics, that this kind of crap gets repealed. And I hope with the Department of Government Efficiency that this inefficient horseshit gets removed. But who knows? Like, I haven't seen this in Canada as of yet, but like if it's happening in the US, if it's happening in the EU, I can only imagine that our the governor of the great state of Canada is really, really looking to take away everybody's assets here too. So I don't know what else to say there.
For sure. I think you hit the nail on the head. And one thing that I'll say too is like, this is the sovereign individual thesis playing out. Like they're doing this not to collect taxes. They're not doing this for your safety or anti-money laundering. They're doing this for the same reason they censored speech on Twitter. They're doing this because they're losing their ability to, they're losing their control and their monopoly on money. And they're trying to hide behind, oh, this is for your safety. Oh, this is because you're going to pay taxes, to justify absolutely tyrannical behavior. And one of the things I've always said is one of the things that I love about Bitcoin is that it exposes incentives. And eventually it's going to expose, like, it's not really about money laundering, bro. If it was about money laundering, you'd be focusing on the traditional financial system. When banks got caught money laundering, like for TD Bank for the Mexican drug cartel, they got a fine. When Arthur Hayes and CZ did basically the same thing, they literally both went to prison. Right now, Roger Ver, and I know he's very unpopular in Bitcoin, not a big fan after the whole Bitcoin Cash thing and all that stuff. That guy right now is on trial, and if he loses that case, he's going to jail for the rest of his life. So, like this is the beginnings of what's to come. Now, I'm super happy that Trump won the election in the United States, and I think it's definitely going to help us. But make no mistake, they're not going to just go quietly into that good night and say, all right, guys, here's the key. You're right. Separate money from state and the central bank. We lost, wrapped it up, call it quits. No, man, that system's going to fight for its life because it's true, man. Big government depends on the money printer. Without the money printer, big government can't sustain itself, which again is part of the theory and thesis in the book, The Sovereign Individual. Now, in the long term, that's going to force governments to change their relationship with their citizens from a more like extortion type of behavior to a more customer-esque, business-esque type of behavior. Or at least that's the theory. We'll see what happens. In other news, a little bit of an update on the Rumble saga. So we read you guys this when it happened about Rumble basically allocating part of its treasury strategy to Bitcoin, but also Rumble actually just got a massive influx, a massive investment from Tether. For people who don't know, by the way, because I guess it's not very well known. Tether right now is one of the most profitable companies on the face of the planet. They basically make more money than Google, and they have 80 employees. They're sitting on so much cash that they put some of that cash into treasuries and they earn interest. But it's such an enormous amount that the interest that they're generating is astronomical. And Paolo and the whole Tether team, they're actually the hardcore Bitcoiners. And what they're using some of that money for is supporting freedom of speech, also Bitcoin companies investing in them, and just trying to accelerate the adoption of Bitcoin. So anyways, I had to give you guys context because a lot of people won't understand, like, where did they get the $775 million from? Anyways, context provided. So here's the headline. Rumble secures $775 million investment from Tether. Stock soars 75%. Here is the CEO, Chris Pavlovski, with Dave Portnoy talking about it. Let's check it out.
Chris.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you crystal clear. Congratulations. I'm talking to a much richer man right now, I think.
You talk.
Stock is up 40% right now. So tell us about the deal. Tether, I did the research a little bit on it. Crypto company, right, that made their fortune with stable coin, but wants to get into other areas. But you know way more. So give us the background, everything that's going on here.
Yeah, so Tether took they're making a $775 million strategic investment into Rumble. For us, this is incredible because we haven't had like a strategic partner such as a company like Tether come into Rumble. So it really is exciting for us in many different ways. They approached us about a month ago, less than a month ago. Yeah, it was pretty quick. Yeah, no, it was very fast. You know, they expressed that they wanted to buy as much of Rumble as they could. So, you know, every insider was given the right to sell as much as they wanted. And 70 million shares is the most I could find. So to put it simply, they're helping clean up the cap table in a major way. And then there's going to be a primary component of about $250 million that can help us spur further growth, build the cloud, further bring in more content creators to the platform, things of that nature. So, yeah, it's a phenomenal opportunity that we had here. Something that I think has been. It's really, you know, if you don't know who Tether is and what they do, it's something that really matches the ethos of Rumble in a major way.
All right. So, you know, a question is, you know, like, what's the mission? Here's Paolo, the CEO, says Tether is actively working with its partners. Partners to build the widest real world use cases for BTC and USDT and other core freedom tech, peer-to-peer private AI. Our dedication goes to the hundreds of millions, likely billions already, of people in our network of reach. Unstoppable together. I guess it's like a play on words. Will be a great 2025. Now, another piece of context that I'll add to this is the fact that I lost my train of thought, but I'll move on to the next thing. Which I think applies to, it was such a good thought too, which I think applies to Ben and I, which is imagine you can easily tip your favorite creators with BTC or USDT directly on Rumble. Oh, now I remember. Okay, so I know we'll get a little bit of hate in the chat regarding, you know, because of course Ben and I are Bitcoin maxis. And I think Bitcoiners all had this thesis that in the developing countries, you would see massive adoption of Bitcoin, but what you're seeing actually is mass adoption of stablecoins. That's what the market is doing. I have a theory that is the stepping stone to Bitcoin adoption. I think it's positive because it gives them an option to a non-sovereign alternative that's run by a company rather than run by a government. And also, like, if you're in Zimbabwe and you're dealing with double-digit inflation and it doesn't allow you to live, right? You can just download a wallet, and like the Aqua wallet that was designed by Samson Mao has actually the ability to, I think, switch from Bitcoin to Tether, use Tether as like your quote unquote stable coin, and then you can use Bitcoin as your saving. So just wanted to provide a little bit of context. I think Bitcoiners wanted something different, but hey, I'm a free market maxi, and the market has said something, quite different. But I think over time, Tether adoption is going to lead to Bitcoin adoption. That's my 2 cents on the matter.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's in doing work with the Human Rights Foundation, there's a lot of people that they do initially gravitate towards like just a stable coin option. They realistically, it's that their home currencies are such trash that they want to use something that it's not stable value. And us as Bitcoiners, we all know that it's not stable value. It's going down forever, but at a steady pace for the most part. And so they can basically accept a payment and then know that in the next day or two or whatever, like they're living hand to mouth, right? Like a lot of people in these regions they want the payment so that they can go out and they can buy the thing in the next, day, week, month, whatever it is, but it's not typically long-term savings for the most part. And a lot of people don't get that out of their currencies. It's like, well, next month or whatever, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to buy with the same amount of money. So that's part of it. The other part is censorship-resistant transactions. And so for the time being, you are getting that with stablecoins, but there is layers of counterparty risk there, right? Like because you've got the token itself sitting typically like being used on which blockchain, like which crypto is it on? And so like that in and of itself, there's some counterparty risk there. Like what is the underlying that's actually transacting it? You can do it on Lightning now, which is great. You can do it on Liquid, which is great. But then there's the counterparty risk of the stable coin itself is representative of treasuries or assets held by a company that are in the traditional financial system. And that's probably the biggest counterparty risk, because if shit hits the fan there, then the whole thing can blow up. And so transactionally, I think it's useful, but I am seeing in practice it also leading to people recognizing that Bitcoin's kind of the way to go. And I've started to come across people when they have the option of using Lightning related stuff and using it in like a stable value type thing over the Lightning network, or using it just the denomination is sats. They're like, no, we'll just use Bitcoin. I think that's the better option, which is cool to see from human rights activists and people in different countries that don't have dollar exposure. There's now I'm starting to see this inclination to move towards Bitcoin, which we all experience over time. Everybody gets their little shitcoin phase and they end up going the right direction. But in regards to Rumble, I mean, for you and me, I think this is incredibly interesting, because having not only a platform that has always kind of gone the direction of where X is right now, where it's like, okay, we're not going to actively like be low key, like censoring people and everything like that. It's obviously not the same as Nostr, because that I think is just like freedom incarnate, which is great. But at least it's a quasi legacy platform that's going the right direction in, hey, look, we can add peer-to-peer value. We can start to integrate these freedom tools. I don't think that they'll quite integrate everything to the point of not having control. But I think this is going to be very much a gateway drug into more decentralized and censorship resistant tools in existing platforms, and then eventually to things that are built with Nostr as like a backbone. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And just to reemphasize what you were saying earlier, and perhaps I didn't communicate properly, Tether is not a replacement for Bitcoin. It's inherently centralized. They can and they have frozen accounts. Of course, they don't do this they do this because a government requests it. They have no choice but to comply, because again, it's a centralized entity. So it is not a replacement for Bitcoin whatsoever. And perhaps I didn't communicate that effectively, but you are seeing it being adopted worldwide, and it has been extremely helpful for people that are living in countries of double-digit inflation. And these are the types of people that, like, they're just trying to get by, right? And if you pitch the dollar to someone in South America, like, it is like the end-all be-all. it's a little bit different. Like Ben and I, to use Gladstein's term, right? We have a little bit of financial privilege because we're from, Western developed countries where the inflation rate is stable enough where you don't realize it's stealing from you. But at the same time, you have a little bit of disposable income. You look at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, Bitcoin's better money. But if you're dealing with 100% inflation, like the dollar is your Bitcoin essentially. But again, once they download that wallet and they get used to that system, this is crazy. I would say that a lot of people in developing countries, I think they're going to skip the whole bank account altogether. They're just going to download a wallet, right? So anyways, very exciting news, but I do want to get to the headline of today's video, which is, cause I know we're about 4 or 5 minutes left, but I'm going to rush through this, Ben. So MicroStrategy, MSTR wants to issue 10 billion more shares at current prices. That would be 3.3 trillion or 36 million Bitcoins. You heard that right. What comes next will be unprecedented. Something will have to give. And I'm guessing the price of Bitcoin will go much higher. Obviously, this would not happen tomorrow, but just like their $42 billion plan from October, this would authorize them to issue 10 billion additional shares, which would currently be worth 3 trillion. Of course, Saylor would only do this over time if accredited to shareholders. This could also include potential future stock splits. Now, what's really interesting about this is the number, right? So obviously, they can't buy 36 million Bitcoins. So what's going to happen? They're just going to put the price of Bitcoin. It's the same thing with how many millionaires there are around the world. There's 60 millionaires, but there's 21 million Bitcoin. Minus 4, because that's what's estimated to be lost. 60 divided, you do the math. Like there's not enough Bitcoin to go around, even if every millionaire wanted to buy just one. So very similar. And of course, Chad Saylor continues their strategy of buying more Bitcoin. In fact, check out these numbers. On November 11th, he bought 27,000 Bitcoin. On November 18th, 51,000 Bitcoin. On November 25th, the week of November 25th, he bought 55,000 Bitcoin. December 2nd, he bought 15,000 Bitcoin. December 9th, 21,000 Bitcoin. December 16th, 15,000 Bitcoin. I think he owns, 2% of the supply at this point. So it is pretty effing crazy. Is this the ultimate checkmate? Is this Saylor's ultimate Bitcoin move? I mean, dude, and then what happens if his stock just keeps going? I mean, eventually, I think the bear is going to hit 2026. We're going to go through a bear. But we're going to have a bull again, and that company's just going to recover and it's going to reach new heights. And it's just a matter of time before other companies figure out that this is the move. I'll tell you what, with my own personal business, and Ben, I'm very confident it's the same with you. Having Bitcoin on your company's treasury is a freaking cheat code. Your runway gets longer. You're like, oh man, how am I going to make payroll? Bitcoin goes up 20%. You're like, all right, can make payroll, and my dollar treasury amount stays exactly the same. Right. Yeah. So, it is a cheat code for any business. If you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, put 20%. I'm not going to give financial advice. Putting a percentage of your treasury in Bitcoin is tremendously helpful if you run a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these numbers alone, with what he's been able to do and how much he's been able to stack this way, there's people that are catching on to this. Other companies are going, oh my God, why aren't we doing this? And they're starting to. And so he's just been so early to the party and benefited from his timing. Well, not even his timing, because he started accumulating in the 2021 bull market, but he had to pay his tuition just like anybody else and ride out the bear market. And the bear market sucked ass. And not just for us, but for everybody and Michael Saylor combined. But he kept his head down. He kept on stacking and has become a prime example of, hey, look, this guy knew something that you didn't and continued to buy through the entire bear market. And out of it, the narrative has begun to shift and people have begun to recognize that strategy. Hey, when something is infinite and you can get it on the cheap, and you can use that thing to buy something that is incredibly scarce and only increasing in value over longer periods of time, you do that. And people are going to continue to do it. There's a lot of naysayers right now, or there will be coming when we hit another bear market, but they're going to just be impossibly wrong yet again. And the Bitcoiners will continue to be incredibly right yet again, time after time, cycle after cycle. And so, I mean, get ready to feel both incredibly depressed as people who are wrong tell you that you're wrong for bear markets, and then incredibly euphoric when you're just so right shortly after.
Yeah, dude, it's the ultimate vindication of I told you so, and it's awesome, man. It's awesome. The future is bright. Like I said, to reference what we were talking about in the beginning of the show, I think there's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I think once we get over that last hill, man, I think that humanity is heading into an era of prosperity and freedom, the likes of which has never been seen before in human history. And I'm extremely excited that, our kids, Ben, my baby daughter is going to get to experience that world. But our generation is the generation that gets the brunt of the fight. And Ben, you've been involved a little bit, somewhat. I see you as a freedom fighter. I don't know if you guys know this, ladies and gentlemen, but I was honored. Ben asked me to be on the first show since, everything happened with the Canadian truckers protest. And the look on this man's face, he just went to war and back. And boy, did we win that, dude. Did we win that?
Oh, I may have been a little shell-shocked on that episode, but I appreciate you joining me for it. And yeah, like in the years since, just kind of coming on the other side of that and seeing the shift in perception and the coverage of it after the fact, and talking with, thinking that, I'm, even though we kind of went through the ringer here in Canada, that pales in comparison to obviously what other people have been through in other areas. But then also hearing people from you brought up an article from the Open Dialogue Foundation, talking to people from there, and they're like, no, never diminish what happened there, because those are the beginning steps, and those types of actions on behalf of a government, they snowball and they become the very shit we're fighting elsewhere. So absolutely, that's a big deal. And so, yeah, I think things are moving in the right direction, but you're right. We've got a task and a half ahead of us for sure.
Yes, we do. But I'm very confident we're going to win. And Ben, it's an honor to be in the trenches with you. Guys, this was your Simply Sessions. Ben, I will literally see you next week. Take care, everyone.
See you soon. All right, everybody, of course, give a subscribe to Nico over at Simply Bitcoin. They bring you the news 6 days a week, and they've got tons of other awesome content as well. But we are continuing on. We're going to give away some sats in just a moment here, so get your Lightning wallets ready. And we're also going to update you on some of the coolest new tools and everything that have been either updated or coming out in the past week here. So stay tuned. We're going to give a quick shout out to our last couple sponsors of the show, and we will be right back to give you away some sats. So again, get those Lightning wallets ready. Be right back. Speed Wallet is the easiest to set up and use Bitcoin wallet out there. When you sign up, you can of course buy Bitcoin within the app. You can send and receive Bitcoin transactions via the Lightning Network, and you can also send, receive, hold, and swap between stablecoins, aka USDT, via the Lightning Network. They've baked in a ton of other great features as well, where you're able to earn Bitcoin. This can include referring your friends, shopping your favorite gift cards, or playing fun games via the Speed Arcade. I encourage you to sign up today. There's a QR code on the screen to do so, or you can hit the link in the show notes down below. And when you do, you will earn 5,000 sats as you create your first. DeFi is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional-grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan. We're right back in, and let's give away some sats right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. I am pulling up bitcoinwell.com. By the way, I'll put a little QR code off to the side. If you do want to sign up for Bitcoin Well, if you don't already have an account, then you can use that QR code there to do so. And you'll, of course, be able to earn points as you sign up, buy Bitcoin, and refer friends. And every time you use 500 points, you get a chance to win 1 million sats. So I'm going to do just that right now. We're going to use some of our points to throw a coin into the Bitcoin wishing well. And whoever scans it first is going to snag the sats anywhere between 500 and 1 million. All right. And there's 500 sats for whoever is going to scan it first. Congrats to whoever gets it. Of course, let us know if you do in the chat, in the comments, wherever you're watching this. And again, congrats. And that's not the only way, of course, that you can be earning some sats over this next bull run. My company, Bitcoin Mentor, we are gearing up for a new year full of newbies to Bitcoin. And I'm certain that you're going to have lots of friends and family asking you about how to best obtain and secure their Bitcoin. So you can point them over to bitcoinmentor.io, but more importantly, you can become an affiliate as an experienced Bitcoin yourself. Scan that QR code on the screen, sign up, get your own personalized link, add it to your social media profiles, share it with family members or friends or whoever asks you about Bitcoin, and refer them to us. And when they sign up through your link for a one-on-one session, you will earn $21 in Bitcoin. And that's not just for their first session, it's for every single session they book in from then on. And again, so if they sign up for, say, 10 sessions, there's $210 paid out to you in Bitcoin at the end of the month. So sign up, you can stack sats while new Bitcoiners stack skills. But with that, let's get into the tech updates. So really quick here, Raspy Blitz version 1.11 or 11.4, Alby Hub integration. Alby Hub is so useful. I've got to say, I love it. What it allows you to do is very simply on your own hardware, set up your Lightning integration, your Lightning node, Lightning channels, all of that. And it has like a little wizard that walks you through and says, hey, maybe do this first and this second and this third. And it helps you basically do everything you need to do. It is so easy to manage. It's so much easier than stuff that I've done before. And then you can link mobile wallets like Alby Go or Zeus or a number of others to your Lightning node and use it on the fly. And it works. I've been using it consistently, and it's an absolute dream come true. So this is now on Raspy Blitz. So if you're running Raspy Blitz, they have Alby Hub integration, awesome app that you can add in. And again, it just kind of helps automate. If you already have a Lightning node running, no problem, download it anyways. And you've got this nice interface where you can set up your own Lightning address. You can link in other apps. You can link it to your browser up here. I have a little plugin for Alby right there, and link it to all your Nostr stuff. It's amazing. So definitely check it out if you're on Raspy Blitz, or if you're on, like me, on a Start 9, or if you're an Umbrel user, they have it there as well. So check them out. Fetti version 0.5.0. This adds Tor support, stabilization of V2 Lightning module, and more. So I've been playing around quite a bit with Fetti the last little bit, setting up mints, learning about Lightning gateways, all these different things. The long and the short of it, if you're unfamiliar with Fetti, basically what this is, you have a community multi-sig where Bitcoin is managed on chain. You can link to the Lightning network with something called Lightning gateways, which is another way for Lightning users to monetize their Lightning nodes by offering Fetti a service and linking them to the outside world. And so as a user, all you would need to do is there's a QR code or a code that you paste into the Fetti app, and then you become a user of whatever mint you're a part of, and you can send money in and out using Lightning transactions. And anytime you transact with somebody within the same mint, it's instant, it's free, and it's near perfectly private. When you're transacting via Lightning, it's still, there's a fair amount of privacy involved there, in that you're kind of hiding in the crowd. There's no indication like, you know, how many people and who's doing the transaction from within the mint. So it's all around a better and more private experience, but there is the counterparty aspect of it, right? Like it's effectively a community bank. So you want to know in general who's managing the mint, and that you can trust those people. And this is going to be, again, similar to other things that we've seen. There's a trade-off. And so if it's day-to-day transactions, very, very useful. Are you going to put your life savings in a mint? Probably not, at least not currently. But very, very promising, and good to see these updates. So again, just what's new in this new version: Tor support for client federation connections, stabilization of V2 of the Lightning module, upgraded to Rust Bitcoin version 0.32, bug fixes and CI improvements. So also the other thing that popped out to me that I thought was great is Bolt 12 invoice support is in preparation. So that's great. They do have a version 0.6.0 coming out in January. And this release was actually delayed, but the version 0.6.0 has been worked on in tandem with this. So it's still on schedule for January. So Fediment leveling up, getting more and more reliable. Still early days, but very, very promising. Moving on. KeyCast. This is particularly interesting to me. I like this idea. KeyCast, it's remote Nostr signing platform for teams. So I now have a team of people around me that we work together, and there's going to be new content in the new year and everything. And I like casting to Nostr via zap.stream, and it would be nice if I could automate some posts and let people know about streams or whatever is going on. That would be amazing. But if I want anybody to be able to post on my behalf right now, it's like, here is my secret key. Please don't abuse it. And that's not an ideal situation. So KeyCast is a secure remote signing and permissions management tool for teams using the Nostr protocol. So it's designed to simplify remote signing and secure key management for teams. Previous solutions cater to individuals. This focuses on team collaboration. So you can manage team of Nostr users. You can manage multiple keys that you want to give others access to. You can create authorizations for those keys that grant specific permissions that can be changed and revoked. You can create your own custom permissions, and you can run the signing infrastructure without any extra work. You can, it's fully open source, and you can host it on your own. Docker, StartOS, Umbrel, they're going to have apps for both StartOS and Umbrel coming soon, but this is super awesome. And this actually ties into the next thing that I'm also excited about in regards to Nostr. Aegis or Aegis, I'm not sure how to say it, but Premium Nostr Relay and Blossom Server. So it's a Premium Relay and Blossom Server. It's one you can run to earn revenue for operating it. By having significantly more Blossom servers available, we'll strengthen the network and ensure our file storage is more distributed. Subscription payments are powered by the Bitvora Lightning API. No code, node management, or KYC required, allowing you to be up and running in minutes. Written in Go. It says you can run it on just 1 core and 1 gigabyte of RAM. The important thing here is that Blossom is basically working on trying to have censorship-resistant, quasi-decentralized file storage without shitcoins involved, which is great. And so as a Nostr user, you could host a Blossom server, which would then host data for other people, which people would then pay you for via Bitcoin over Nostr. And this is something that I need. I need this because I don't trust. I mean, we're talking about Rumble early in the show. We're talking about that and X versus things like YouTube. I'm on YouTube right now. That's obviously an important part of what I do because I need to catch new people as they come into the space. But I also don't trust that I won't be removed from this platform, right? I don't trust that I'm going to be able to have this channel forever. And that's a very real thing because multiple times I've seen problems arise. Even just recently in the past couple of months, I saw a total shadow ban where you couldn't even search me, which is wild. That is insane. Also, I just saw a huge zap come in. This, again, this is great. I just saw a zap for 7,777 sats come in here on my screen as I'm streaming from Nostr as this streams over zap.stream. So this is why this shit is so important, is because the barrier of communication and the barrier of money are completely being dissolved by things like this. When you see Nostr relays and Blossom servers and people being able to be rewarded for providing that service directly paid in sats, which then gives way to content creators and people that just want free speech to be able to talk to audiences and also be directly rewarded in a decentralized and censorship resistant way for the content they're providing, with nobody scraping away the money in between, with nobody saying, what did you say? I don't think so. We're going to make sure people can't find you. That is the value proposition here. That is awesome. And so Blossom servers, KeyCast, even what I was talking about earlier, how Alby Hub is now integrated with Raspberry Blitz, and all of this can be integrated, your own Lightning node with Nostr and all of this. This is all so important. Now, does all of it work perfectly yet? Absolutely not. We're on the bleeding edge. So anybody that's trying this stuff right now, you're going to have frustrations. You're going to have shit break, and you're going to have to sometimes fall back to your old stuff. But I encourage you to keep trying, keep playing, keep learning, because as this stuff gets more accessible, it's going to be incredibly important in our future. Last couple things here. BTCPay server version 2.0.5. They now have a seamless transition to version 2. So just minor improvement and bug fixes here for the most part. But most importantly, with the migration from 1.0 to 2.0 battle tested, all users upgrading will now seamlessly transition to version 2.0. So I made a tutorial recently on BTCPay server using Luna node for hosting. And the upgrade process to 2.0 was a little bit tricky. That is gone now. So, and luckily I said in the video, hey, this part may not be useful eventually. Well, it's already obsolete. So, you know, I'm pretending not to be upset about that. But at least I did give guidance in the video that you can skip past this part when it's no longer necessary. So that's awesome. But yeah, BTCPay, killing it as always, working hard. Couple things. I did release a tutorial on Speed Wallet's merchant portal and their suite of merchant tools and their APIs for accepting Bitcoin payments as well. So if you're not self-hosting or doing any of that, and you just want to kind of be able to accept payments integrated into like your app or website or anything like that, you can also set automated thresholds which withdraw to self-custody. So maybe that is in line with a solution for you if you don't want anything that's like, you know, like that you have to host yourself or whatever. This could be an option for you as well. But I would encourage you to set those thresholds. That's important, you know, saying like, okay, if I have more than 1 million sats sitting here, it's going to go straight to my cold storage or to my self-custody or whatever it is. But still a nice little tool that they put together there. Also, I'll say if you missed the show the other day, I encourage you to check out the Christmas show. It was an epic 7.5 hours. We had so many awesome guests there. Preston Pish, Larry Lepard, Parker Lewis, Peter St. Ange. There's so many awesome people there. It was an absolute blast. I really enjoyed it. And thank you all for tuning in. But if you didn't, go take it in chunks. There's 30-minute panels stacked one after the other with a variety of people from across the space. And it was fantastic. So with that, we're going to round out here. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton. If you want to help the show in another way, hit up the previously mentioned sponsors, all in the show notes down below. And if you want to earn some extra sats over the course of this next bull run, there is a QR code just over here that you can scan to become an official affiliate of Bitcoin Mentor. Get your own personal link, post it in your profiles, share it with friends, family, and acquaintances that are asking about Bitcoin. And if they do book a session through us, that's $21 paid out to you in Bitcoin at the end of each month. And every single session, every single person books through your link earns you money. You stack sats while no new Bitcoiners stack skills. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. We'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.